Everybody knows that Mortal Kombat 2, the brand new live-action movie, drops this weekend. Some are really looking forward to it. The early reviews, whether you trust those or not, seem to be extremely positive. I've stated on this channel how much I hated the 2021 film, and the trailer for this sequel, didn't exactly fill me with anticipation. But maybe I'm off base. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm open to that. I will go see it in the near future and come back to you with a review. I'm not special. I don't get the early invites. How you doing? Today's episode of Mortal Kombat Monday, though, this is a primer. This episode is a triple feature of Mortal Kombat movie retrospectives to get you ready for this follow-up. So come with me while we relive the magic of the 1995 original. Then we'll revisit the horrendous 1997 sequel in a what could have been style presentation, before capping things off with a full review of that 2021 steamer that I kind of can't believe is even getting a sequel. Is MK2 gonna be good? Hey, we'll know by this time next week. Until then, let's get all caught up. Every video here on 616 Entertainment is made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoy the show here today, consider signing up. You'll get early access, exclusive videos, and podcasts and more. Pro Wrestling Tees has the shirts, and you can buy my book, Triangle X Squared Circle, the Wrestling Video Game Compendium, at the link in the description. As always, thank you very much for watching. Now let's get to it.
And now for our feature presentation.
It is no secret that I love the Mortal Kombat movie. The one from 1995, obviously. The first one. Not that movie they did in 2021. I've spoken about the Mortal Kombat movie many times on this very channel. Most notably in the history of Mortal Kombat Part 6, box office Annihilation, which, if you weren't aware, is gone. If you didn't watch it in the 6 years it was live on YouTube, you missed your chance, as Warner Brothers and WWE tag teamed to block that video worldwide. Why? Because they can. I broke zero rules. Everything I did was 100% inside of fair use guidelines and practices, but that didn't stop Warner Brothers specifically from sticking 18 different copyright claims on the video. Several of those claims are literally footage of me on screen, which, I guess they own that. Who would have thought? YouTube does nothing to help creators in these situations at all, so when I appeal WB's claims and they just respond with, "No, we're right," I'm just screwed, so there's nothing I can do about it. So why am I here to talk about the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie again? I mean, it's because I still have more to say about it. And I've already gone through the history, the casting choices, how it performed at the box office, blah blah blah. Today I want to talk about why this movie works so well from virtually every angle. From the handling of individual characters to the importance of wins and losses in key moments, into iconic pieces of the Mortal Kombat legacy that you may not even realize don't come from the games, but from this movie. After the break, we'll get into it. Now let me be clear about the title. There's a question mark there for a reason. I'm not declaring Mortal Kombat is the undisputed king of video game film adaptations. I think the Silent Hill movie from 2006 is pretty goddamn good. I did a whole retrospective on it on my show Scream Sequence. The first Resident Evil movie from 2002, while a departure from the source material, has some major charm to it, and I would argue was also pretty good. Wouldn't you know it, I did a whole retrospective on that one for Scream Sequence as well. Detective Pikachu was cool. I actually think all three Sonic movies are great. Look, we live in much better times than we used to. The Last of Us is a TV show and doesn't count. Delete your comment. I have major problems with the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie, and those are problems that I will address later on in this very season of Mortal Kombat Monday, in a video just like this. But that's not what we're here to do today. We're not here to talk about where the 2021 movie went wrong. We're here today to talk about what the 1995 movie did right. I'm not going to run through the plot. You know the plot. You've seen the movie probably 100 times. So rather than spend today's video running down story beats you've had memorized for 30 years... Holy shit, this movie is 30 years old, isn't it? Rather than spend today's video running down story beats that you've had memorized for 30 years, I want to zoom in on the characters themselves. How they're handled, the importance of what they do, and the importance of how they're used. Let's just take it scene by scene. Check this out. We open on the main bad guy, destroying and murdering an opponent who obviously has no business in the ring with him. This is like Kramer fighting children, just way worse, on a deadly level.
Your brother's soul is mine. You will be next.
With those words, we've established the main feud of this movie. Next scene, Sonya Blade, guns blazing, breaks into an underground nightclub in search of the elusive and infamous Kano, the man who killed her partner. Kano is working with Shang Tsung in order to bait Sonya Blade into a trap. Up next, Johnny Cage shoots a fight scene for his new movie, and he gets fed up with an actor who forgets the choreography. In the middle of his tantrum, Cage comes face to face with his former instructor, who offers Johnny a way to prove his doubters wrong. The most prestigious martial arts tournament in the world. Liu Kang, returning home for his brother's funeral, is confronted by a man called Raiden, a man that these monks refer to as a god. This god drives the point home. There's far more going on here than Liu Kang's myopic familial revenge quest. The entire world is at stake. Now, I don't know if you're picking up exactly what I'm putting down, so let me put it to you very clearly. Inside of just 4 scenes, we've already introduced our main villain, our secondary villain, our 3 main protagonists, and their coach/team captain. And not only have we introduced all of these characters, but we have established all of their individual storylines and motivations. We know where they're going, what they're doing, and why they're doing it. I mean, just look at it. Sonya seeks justice for what Kano did to her partner, and rather than arresting him for murder like her job normally entails, she's chasing him onto a remote island and entering a fighting tournament she has no business in. Johnny Cage, labeled a fraud, wants to prove he really is the best, with his desperate need for acceptance and outside validation making him an easy target to someone who knows his weaknesses. Liu Kang is the good guy's greatest hope, and the death of his brother, while seemingly fuel to his fire, will have him running on anger rather than skill and perseverance. All 3 of our main protagonists have a motivating factor that doubles as a trap waiting to be set, a weakness waiting to be exploited by an evil mastermind who has puppeted this entire situation. All of this, by the way, happens in the first 14 minutes of this movie. That's how you do it. That's how you set everything up. And this movie never takes its foot off the gas, by the way. It's all go from here. Through their introductions and storylines, we can see these characters are getting the treatment they deserve narratively. But in the fighting realm, it gets even better. Let's look at Liu Kang. His first battle is against this guy, who we don't know. He's not an established member of the Mortal Kombat roster. You might complain about this. You might wonder why they wouldn't slot in, Cabal or Baraka or somebody like that. And the answer is simple. It's because Liu Kang beats this guy and Shang Tsung kills him. We wouldn't want this to be somebody like Rain or Shiva because, look what they did to Rain and Shiva in the sequel. They're present, they're nothing, and they're wasted. This guy just being a cool looking dude who actually surprisingly gets some shit in on Liu Kang. We're getting a good fight here where our babyface goes over without making an established character look weak. And that phrase right there, making an established character look weak, that plays into Scorpion and Sub-Zero here in this film. Let's talk about the palette swap ninjas. Now I'll address the elephant in the room first. One aspect of this film that some seem to dislike is how Sub-Zero and Scorpion are portrayed. Rather than at each other's throats, they're standing side by side. Rather than operating under their own free will, they are pawns of Shang Tsung. I can see why this might bother some, wouldn't it have been cool for these two to engage in their classic conflict on the big screen? Sure, in theory, but think about what that would entail. You don't get to just insert another massive storyline that requires the points of view and motivations of two iconic characters, which, if done well, would also require its own beginning, middle, and end, and the flow of this film remains the same. That's just not possible. Honestly, I think a Scorpion and Sub-Zero storyline, if we're doing it the right way, that's its own movie. So rather than trying to smash that in here, doing too much and taking time away from our three main protagonists, the writer and director of this film found a way to use Sub-Zero and Scorpion in a way that is, in my mind, the next best thing. The first time we see them, Shang Tsung labels our palette swap ninjas as the deadliest of enemies, saying right from the jump, you don't want to mess with these guys. This dude? Sure. You can challenge him. These guys all at the same time? Hey, go for it. But you don't want no piece of Sub-Zero or Scorpion, trust me. Later on, Shang Tsung's demonstration of, you're all totally fucked by the way, is to just let Sub-Zero do his thing. That's all you need to know. Shang Tsung arranges for Liu Kang to fight Sub-Zero because he knows that Liu Kang is the chosen one and he's trying to get rid of him. In hand-to-hand combat, Liu Kang has nothing for Sub-Zero. When he finally lands one strike, Sub-Zero goes, yeah, okay, fuck this. And if it weren't for Kitana giving Liu the inside track, the cheat code on the side, Liu Kang would have been done. So even in a loss, Sub-Zero looks like $1 million. Scorpion beats the absolute shit out of Johnny Cage for minutes at a time. He pulls off all his tricks, he gets all his shit in, and he's only beaten when Johnny Cage resorts to using weapons. And Scorpion's death is fantastic. Come on. I've never had a problem with the way the palette swap ninjas were handled in this movie, and when I first read that sentiment online, like, oh, Scorpion and Sub-Zero were wasted or whatever, I was surprised. I would love to know where you fall on this situation. Let me know down in the comments. And keeping with the themes of characters being portrayed in certain ways, let's look at Raiden. Never in the games was Raiden this wisecracking coach who doesn't beat his students over the head with lessons, but tosses subtle hints in order to let them discover what it is they're supposed to do. Christopher Lambert's performance in that regard has gotten some heat over the years, and this is not something that would carry on into the future. Unlike Trevor Goddard's portrayal of Kano, which is where that character's accent initially came from, Trevor Goddard's Kano became the Kano for all time after this movie came out. Goro is a perfect example of doing things the right way. Goro is royalty. He's the prince of the Shokan, and you can pick that up simply from how he carries himself. He's well-spoken, he's intelligent, he's regal, and he belittles somebody like Kano, who Goro considers a dirty and disgusting moron from the other side of the world. How did they handle Goro as a fighter in this movie? He kills like 15 fucking guys, one after the other, like nothing, just to pop the crowd. It's light work. One-on-one with Art Lean, a friend of Johnny Cage's and an accomplished kickboxing star, light work. Chop to the head like Great Khali, done with it. When Goro does finally lose, what happens? It's the same formula that Scorpion and Sub-Zero fell to. Babyface tomfoolery. Johnny Cage used weapons against Scorpion. Liu Kang had his katana cheat, and Johnny knows he'll get crushed by Goro in a hand-to-hand fight, so he doesn't fight him. He outsmarts him. He leads him away from the one-on-one combat zone and baits him to the edge of a cliff. And if punching him in the balls to kick things off wasn't enough, then Johnny Cage sneak attacks Goro. This is not how normal good guys behave. Our good guys are not these generic, most incredible fighters who never lose and they always have the answers. No, our good guys are being forced to dip into bad guy tactics just to scrape by in this ongoing war where everything is at stake. And I Love it. There's one scenario where this is not the case, and that is Sonya Blade versus Kano. This fight is straight up hand to hand. It's back and forth. Kano seemingly got Sonya right where he wants her. He's bigger and stronger, you know? She's done. Nope, she pulls off some crazy Frankenstein or triangle choke sort of bullshit, and when Kano begs for his life... Let's quickly look at Reptile, who absolutely takes it to Liu Kang for the majority of this battle. He beats the brakes off our main hero, and keep in mind, this is a Liu Kang who has it all now. This is a Liu Kang who Raiden said, "I have nothing left to teach you." Even in his prime form, Reptile wears Liu Kang out for like 5 minutes straight. Liu eventually turns the tables and picks up the win, but, I mean, this is the best and most respectful portrayal of Reptile as a character and threat than he had gotten, I mean, probably up until 2023's Mortal Kombat 1. And the final battle, Shang Tsung versus Liu Kang, our villain did everything he could to avoid this happening. He tried to have Liu killed multiple times. He captured Sonya and tried to fight her because he knows he could beat her. When Liu Kang begins to fulfill his destiny, Shang Tsung starts cheating. He's playing tricks, and despite playing his best card, Liu sees through it, eventually defeating Shang Tsung in brutal fashion. What I love about this fight and, you know, this entire movie really is that nobody looks like a fucking idiot. At no point in this film, bad guy or good guy, does anyone have the rug swept out from underneath them and they wind up looking like a complete buffoon. And if you've seen other movies in this genre, other adaptations I should say, you know, the 2021 Mortal Kombat movie stands out, you know what I'm talking about. But again, that's another conversation for another time. Don't even get me started on how we build spikes for 5 minutes before we use them. They knew how badly we wanted to see somebody fall on spikes, and boy do they tease us with this spot before finally giving it to us. Perfect. The theme song, perfect. I can't play more than like 4 seconds of it, but I don't have to. You know it. What many didn't realize for a very long time was that this song, while synonymous with the Mortal Kombat franchise, this song had nothing to do with the games. This song was made for the movie. It wasn't until 2019's Mortal Kombat 11 that this song ever touched the games. And this movie's influence has that effect all over the place. It has begun! That's not from the games, it's from this movie. Johnny Cage and Sonya Blade in Love, that wasn't in the games, that came from this movie. Even the musical cues from this movie that punctuate the dialogue, those cues are being borrowed by the games nearly 30 years later.
Avarice and ego have again proved your undoing. We have no choice but to eradicate you.
It is you who will be eradicated.
I'm not trying to say that this movie is perfect, Dan Dans. I'm just saying, it's great. It's an amazing adaptation of a video game that came out in 1992. The entire cast of the first game are present in the movie, and they're all super important to what's happening. We're not subbing out an established hero for some new studio creation for no reason whatsoever. We're celebrating the existing roster. And on the other side of that same coin, we're not sacrificing an established villain just to make a hero look good for 2 seconds. We're subbing in a studio creation to protect a character who doesn't need to take that loss. This is good shit. Is the movie far less violent than the game? Absolutely. Could I have gone for more blood? Of course. Does the lack of blood ruin the movie? No. Are the animatronics on Goro incredible? Yes. Can I see the wrinkles in the black curtain that makes up the sky behind the boat? Also yes. I'm not painting this as a flawless victory. You know, I just wanted to take the time to focus on what makes the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie so special. In my mind, it's the respect shown to the source material. That doesn't sound like a big ask, but you've seen some of these video game movies. You know what I'm talking about. Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Oh boy. I covered this film about as deep as anyone can back in 2019 with the history of Mortal Kombat Part 6. But thanks to Warner Brothers and WWE, you can't watch that video anymore. Thanks guys, that's almost 250,000 views and thousands of comments from you guys sharing your stories that are just completely lost forever now. Great, appreciate that. A month or two ago, I covered the 1995 live-action Mortal Kombat film again, but this wasn't a simple retread of what I'd already said in that prior video. Rather than going into the production details and behind-the-scenes information, I focused on the story, the characters, the structure. I went into why the movie worked as well as it did and why it still holds up today. This, naturally, made me want to cover the 1997 sequel as well, that being Mortal Kombat Annihilation. And I'm just going to be honest with you, for a while there, I had no idea what the hell it was that I wanted to say. I toyed with the idea of Mortal Kombat Annihilation, so bad it's good, which might be fun, but a lot of what I would say there would be a total retread of things I said in the history of Part 6. I nearly put this entire video concept on the shelf before I realized there is more to say here. There's more to say because while I've talked about everything from this movie we've seen, I've never really gone into what we didn't see. And I don't mean the casting process or financials. I mean, I went and tracked down the first draft of the script and I read the whole thing, front to back. There is so much on these pages that did not make it to the screen. It's crazy. And with that, we've got today's episode of Mortal Kombat Monday. What exactly was cut out? Would this cut content have made for a better film overall? And would we have a better opinion of Mortal Kombat Annihilation had this script not been so messed with? Let's talk about it. This is what could have been Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Let me just say this up front. The way I'm going to edit this video should hopefully make it really fun to watch. Rather than just showing the pages of the script on screen for minutes at a time, I'm going to use footage from various games, mostly focused on the characters in question. Footage of the theatrical release of Annihilation and the pages from the script. All of that should keep this from being boring to watch. Or if you're one of the people who just listens to this stuff, you're not going to know the difference anyway, so it doesn't really matter. We ready to go? Let's get to it. I'm not going to run through the whole script from page 1 to 110 in order. We're going to jump around. One of the funniest and most disjointed aspects of the Annihilation we got centers around Nightwolf. You remember Nightwolf's role in the film, right? Raiden tells Liu Kang, seek the counsel of one called Nightwolf, and that Nightwolf would have the answers. Well, Liu finds him. There's mention of 3 tests that Liu has to pass, and then these 3 tests just never play out. This story thread is left wide open, and Nightwolf is never seen nor heard from again. That was the movie we saw, but in the script, this thread was completed. There was meant to be substance to Nightwolf after all. The first of Liu Kang's 3 tests was to face his fears. Remember how we saw Nightwolf knock Liu Kang out with the blunt end of his hatchet? Well, Liu was supposed to wake up buried up to his neck in sand. Nightwolf walks over to a cactus and he kicks it and breaks it in half, and thousands of spiders were to pour out of the body of the ruptured trunk. Carrying the top portion of the cactus, Nightwolf would cover Liu Kang's head with all of these spiders. They would inject this psychedelic venom into Liu's bloodstream. And in an out-of-body experience taking place somewhere in the Great Beyond, our champion was to be confronted by shadow demons who shouted his many failures at him from a distance. Reminders of his brother's death from the first film, taunts over Kitana's kidnapping at the hands of Scorpion here, so on and so forth. Liu's animality would be teased, with his arms growing scaly, his eyes were going to turn red, and his screams would take the form of fire, banishing the shadow demons. This whole thing was meant to be the first of Nightwolf's tests. Now, in the theatrical film, we do see the majority of his second test play out, that being the test of loyalty, although all of the context and explanation is stripped away. This is where Jade is trying to get into Liu Kang's pants, and Liu Kang passes the test because he's like, no, my heart belongs to another, I'm with Kitana. But in the script, they flesh this out further. Jade is pouring it on. She's like, we can melt the snow of this frozen desert, which, holy shit, man. Liu Kang versus Jade in this scene, after he turns her down, was actually scripted to be a much longer fight. Jade's staff, her bow gimmick, was supposed to be able to turn into a snake, and it was going to wrap itself around Liu Kang at one point, but, you know, none of this made it to the screen. Liu's third test comes into play with Raiden's death, which was Liu Kang having faith in himself and his teammates to stand up to Shao Kahn and his invaders in this final battle. Yes, at the end here, Raiden would bring up Nightwolf's tests again, and not only tell Liu Kang that he passed them, but he would reiterate what the tests were. That is a far cry from the movie we got, where the tests just never happened. And Raiden was not supposed to be killed by getting hit with like the 5th projectile he takes in this movie. In the script, he goes out a hero. During the final battle, there are hundreds of Shao Kahn's soldiers rushing toward the good guys. Raiden sees this happening, he distracts them, they chase after him, and he gets this giant like broken castle to crumble down on top of them, and he gets caught in the rubble as well. I brought up Jade there for a second when I was going over the second of Nightwolf's tests, and let's focus on Jade here for a minute, because her role in the script was actually much larger. In the movie, Jade arrives as a part of Nightwolf's tests. She eventually turns on the good guys, and Shao Kahn feeds her to one of those CGI abominations that don't even exist in the Mortal Kombat universe. Fun fact, these monsters don't exist in the script either. So where they came from is beyond me. Jade not being monster food means that she makes it further into the story, in the script, and that's where we'll take a look at the final battle. Much like the movie we saw on screen, we get Jax versus Motaro, Kitana versus Sindel, both of which were scripted much longer, with Jax using his missile launch projectile and Motaro even shooting lasers out of his tail, but this was all cut. And then there's Sonya versus Ermac. In the script, Sonya hits her upward bicycle kick move at the edge of a staircase, which, you know, would have been awesome to see. Liu Kang was not supposed to just be slowly walking toward Shao Kahn while all of this was happening, as the movie shows. This is where Liu Kang versus Jade 2 was supposed to happen, though I should mention some of Liu's awful dialogue here. In between kicks, Liu Kang goes, "This is for betraying me! This is for betraying Kitana! And this is for being the biggest bitch in the world!" It's also worth noting that in the script, it took Kitana, Sonya, and Jax all teaming up on Sindel in order to take her out, rather than 97% of Sindel versus Kitana taking place off-screen and then it's just over. And Sindel, how about it? She was featured far more in the script as well. Her backstory of killing herself in order to escape being Shao Kahn's wife, the murder of her husband, losing her children, it's all explored. Kitana even details that Khan is able to invade Earthrealm because Sindel's body was buried here. It wasn't supposed to just be some Shao Kahn has broken the rules, which completely undermines the entirety of the first movie. And Sindel's connected to Nightwolf at one point, so we can tie all of this together here. Nightwolf had a role protecting his people's sacred grounds. Sacred grounds that Sindel and Shao Kahn were to show up on, looking for Liu Kang and the other Earthrealmers. Sindel was going to murder the only remaining medicine man left in the desert, who was Nightwolf's friend, and she was going to send the invaders to kill Nightwolf. This is when Nightwolf would transform into his animality and just absolutely destroy like 25 members of Shao Kahn's forces. Khan shows up, and with a wave of his hand, he would boil the waters on Nightwolf's land, turning it blood red. The fish and the wildlife in the water would float to the surface, caught in the wake of Khan's destruction. He would decimate Nightwolf's prayer site and would ignore Nightwolf's one-on-one challenge, and a back and forth that went, "You will pay for this, Khan. For my people, I will make you pay."
I could kill him now, but soon every human will be destroyed in the merger of realms. Let him live these last days knowing he could not save his own people.
That shit is hardcore, dude. And Nightwolf looks like $1,000,000, standing up for himself, standing up for his people, and standing up for his land. Rather than, disappearing and not mattering at all. Remember how Smoke fights Liu Kang and Cyrax fights Sonya and Jax and Sector is just not in the movie at all for some reason? Well, he was supposed to be. Smoke doesn't fight Liu Kang in the script. Sector fights Liu Kang. Later on, when Mileena attacks Sonya and Jax, and then Jax inexplicably disappears so it can just be Sonya versus Mileena one-on-one, this was written as Sonya and Jax versus Mileena and Smoke. At one point, Smoke was going to launch the 3-pronged harpoon out of his chest, and Jax would deflect it with his metal arm. A high kick from Sonya was set to knock Mileena's mask off, revealing her disfigured face. Oh man. Jax finishes Smoke with his railroad spike fatality, beating him into the ground, and Sonya was set to drown Mileena in the mud instead of just kicking her in the face. That is, a lot cooler than what we got, wouldn't you say? Shiva. Let's talk about Shiva. In the movie, she's there, and then she's there again, and then she gets squashed by a falling cage and she's dead. In the script, Shiva was supposed to fight Liu Kang in the opening scene, and she actually was written to get the better of him. Later on, Liu Kang vs. Shiva 2 is labeled in the script as, and I quote, "a spectacular fight featuring the most advanced interaction between digital effects and live-action humans ever seen before. This technical ability to create perfect, fluid unison in their combat will make this one of the most spectacular fights in the film." Liu Kang was going to hit a bicycle kick on Shiva through a cement wall. Shiva was going to shoot her forearm blast thing. Liu Kang was going to hit an uppercut, knocking Shiva through the ceiling, where the fight would continue on the next level, which is straight out of Mortal Kombat 3. Liu Kang was going to throw punches. Shiva would grab his hands with her bottom arms and then fuck him up with her top arms. And the fight ends with Liu Kang hitting a flying kick, and Shiva falls off the top of the tower and splats at the bottom. I would have loved to have seen this, Remember how Rain is in this movie and he doesn't do literally anything? He's killed off for next to no reason and he doesn't even get a fight. Well, Rain isn't even in the script. This was supposed to just be an original character, totally nameless, just a nothing guy, and no one would care when he dies. Somewhere along the way, I guess somebody was like, hey, use a character the fans know. Rain has a line in the movie that Cabal and Stryker had been captured, but we never see them in the movie. What's even more sad is that Cabal and Stryker are used in the script, in what was a gigantic piece completely removed from the film. There's a whole thing about Shao Kahn having slaves who work themselves to death in his cobalt mine, which is overseen by a mixture of Shokan and Nomad guards, with Baraka acting as its general. Nomad was the term used in place of Tarkatan, by the way, because Tarkatans didn't have a name yet, and they wouldn't until 2006's Mortal Kombat Deception. After their capture, Cabal and Stryker were forced to work in this mine, and they would secretly be plotting to rescue Kitana from captivity. They would later battle Khan and Sindel's forces, allowing the heroes, with Kitana, to escape unhindered. And by the way, the slaves working in this cobalt mine, once they were used up beyond Shao Kahn's liking, they would be sold off to the Lin Kuei in order to be indoctrinated into the Cyber Initiative. Do you see how many pieces of connective tissue were removed here? Pieces of tissue that were removed and completely thrown away while not being replaced with anything to fill that space. I'm not saying that this was a 10 out of 10 script, but it's certainly more cohesive than the final product that we got. Baraka was meant to be in Rain's place during the opening scene. Baraka was meant to have a much longer fight with Liu Kang, and Liu was not supposed to fight with some random sword he found on the wall. He was supposed to use 2 broken off Tarkatan arm blades as dual swords in a showdown with Baraka and 2 of his henchmen at the same time. The falling cage that killed Shiva in the movie was meant for Baraka, who actually survives being crushed and would inform Shao Kahn that the heroes had gotten away. So Baraka lives, allowing him to appear in what could have been a 3rd film. I've not mentioned it thus far, but there is a line in the script where Jax sees Shiva for the first time and he goes, "What the hell is that?" To which Sonya Blade responds, "I thought you liked big women." Johnny Cage still dies in the opening scene, but he fights Motaro first, and he drops a bunch of jokes in between. The type of one-liners that we got in the first movie and were just gone from the second. Ermac fights Kitana and Sonya at the same time in the opening scene, and maybe most importantly of all, Ermac kicks Kitana in the face when she says, "Mother, you're..." This means that, yes, the legendary line, "Too bad you will die," was not in the script. Where it came from, I do not know. Johnny Cage's neck is not snapped in the script. Instead, Shao Kahn gorilla press slams the shit out of him, so hard that he breaks through the stone floor and then he slowly dies in Sonya's arms. And oddly enough, Shao Kahn breathes Johnny's soul into his lungs and hits the "It has begun" line, calling back to the first movie. I think that would have been an awesome visual. Shao Kahn's death in the script was much more intense, with the world glitching back and forth between states of being and different realms with every hit of the final combo. Kahn's landing on his last bump rips open a black hole which tears his body to pieces. The black hole then collapses into itself, reverting the Earth back to its state before he ever arrived. One of the most interesting pieces of the script, at least in my opinion, is the relationship between Raiden and Shao Kahn. Now, like the final product, like the finished film, they are written to be brothers, but Raiden doesn't just keep this information to himself and secret from the good guys, which leads to strife in the 3rd act. In the script, Raiden doesn't know that Shao Kahn is his brother, and he doesn't figure it out until the 3rd act. We see a flashback to when Raiden was a young boy, fighting his brother for their dad's amusement, and to keep it brief, we learn Shao Kahn's real name is Galen. Who knew? Raiden defeats Galen. Shinnok throws a fit because he envisioned Galen as his heir, not Raiden. And blah blah blah, Raiden is cast out. Raiden doesn't put the pieces together that Shao Kahn is the grown-up version of Galen until the movie is almost over. To round things out, I just want to mention that Scorpion still appears to battle Sub-Zero on the ice bridge. But before he does, we were supposed to get this great shot of a ravaged corpse carried by the current in a river of lava. The camera would get closer and closer to the body, and when the body turns toward the camera, the eyes burst open. The corpse was that of Scorpion. His soul was emerging from the Netherrealm. This would have been so cool to see play out. And the cut ending with Quan Chi is widely known about, yeah. There's even art out there of Quan Chi. There were home video releases that featured Quan Chi on the art, despite him not appearing in the movie, which is bizarre. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, the final scripted scene was to feature Shinnok and Quan Chi basically planting the seeds for what the 3rd Mortal Kombat film would have been. Shinnok and Quan Chi together is the plot of Mortal Kombat 4, the game, so it makes sense that this is where they would have been going with the live-action films. There you go. Those are some of the major differences from script to screen on Mortal Kombat Annihilation. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the link to this script in the pinned comment on this video so you can read it for yourself and find all the other little differences that I didn't mention here. Does everything I just explained sound like a better movie? Sure. It sounds more entertaining. There are more fights, a couple more character moments. There's more going on. Here's the issue. Mortal Kombat Annihilation's problem has nothing to do with its entertainment value. It's a very entertaining movie the way it is, it just sucks in its execution. Even some of the things that were cool are executed very poorly. So we can't say that this would have made for a better movie all around. There's really no way to know that because even if the script wasn't touched, a lot of the stuff that sucks or a lot of the stuff that was cut was probably cut due to time and money constraints.
My powers are leaving me.
In 2021, Mortal Kombat finally returned to the big screen. I say finally because it had been just about 25 years since Sub-Zero, Scorpion, and the like graced theaters in any meaningful way. Yes, I'm talking about Mortal Kombat Annihilation. What a spectacle that is. I'm going to be honest with you, and you know this if you've been around 616 Entertainment for a while, I don't like this movie. I don't like this movie at all, and anytime this movie has come up since 2021, I have not exactly held my tongue about that. Here's the thing, though. Before writing this script, I hadn't seen this movie since 2021. I 100% wiped the slate clean. I came back to this most recent Mortal Kombat movie ready and willing to learn that I was too harsh on it before and that, yeah, those of you who gave me the business in the comments over not liking it, maybe you were onto something. Maybe this movie is better than I initially thought. Maybe I should look at it with, I hate this movie. I hate it. I watched it again. I hate it. So, spoilers, today I will not be apologizing for my prior opinions. I will not be reassessing the sights and sounds I didn't appreciate before. None of that. We're going to take a look at this film as it is, and along the way, I've got a lot to say. Welcome to Mortal Kombat Monday. So what the hell is this movie about? Well, it's not a tournament, for one thing. They go out of their way to address that. Here's the thing. We kick off hundreds of years ago. Hanzo Hasashi and his family are living a quiet and peaceful life. That's when Bi-Han and the Lin Kuei arrive, murdering Hanzo's family while he's out. He rushes back home. The Lin Kuei attempt to blindside him, but this ain't his first rodeo. He trashes the entire crew like nothing, but that's when he finds his wife and child, dead at the hands of Bi-Han. Hey, speak of the devil, and here we go, off to the races, bing bang boom. When the smoke clears, Bi-Han emerges victorious. Hanzo dies, crawling home to his only remaining child, his body burning away instantly. The Thunder God, Raiden, arrives shortly thereafter. So how about it? We're about to spend the next 2 hours on this deadly story of revenge. The revenge of Hanzo Hasashi, now Scorpion, who was formed into a specter in the fires of the Netherrealm. He's coming back with a vengeance to take down Sub-Zero, the Cryomancer who wiped out his entire family and clan. Nope, that is not what this movie is. We jump immediately from that pretty damn cool opening scene to this guy, Cole Young. He's a pretty bad MMA fighter on the independent circuit, fighting complete nobody jabronis in local gyms for $200 cash. And he loses this fight, by the way. The entire rest of the movie follows this guy. Scorpion doesn't return until there are literally 8 minutes left of screen time, where he teams up with Cole Young, who is apparently related to Scorpion, and they double team Sub-Zero in a frozen MMA gym. I can hear the crew on this movie in my head. Hey, you know the pit, the Deadpool, the Soul Chamber, the Combat Tomb? We got all of these unbelievable settings to choose from, but I was thinking, hey, wouldn't it be fucking crazy if there was Scorpion versus Sub-Zero in a fucking UFC? Bro, that's what the people want. Goro! Let's make him completely CGI, devoid of any personality whatsoever. Make it so he could literally pass as an orc from fucking any fantasy slop you've ever seen. And don't put him in a cool place. Put him in a trailer park. Yeah, that's what they want. That's what they want. I hate this movie. I hate it. Somebody definitely thought this was a really cool idea. You know, it's a sleek and modern take on what Mortal Kombat is at its core. But it's not that at all. It's just extremely out of touch and stupid. Nobody watching this movie is even thinking about Scorpion anymore by the time we get to the end. So when he does show up, it's like, oh yeah, okay. And then you're reminded that you'd rather have been watching a Scorpion versus Sub-Zero movie this whole time. Earlier in the film, Sub-Zero tells Shang Tsung he killed Scorpion centuries ago. And yeah, man, gotta tell you, I think it would have been awesome to see how Hanzo became Scorpion in the Netherrealm. How Bi-Han rose to absolute power as a cryomancer and became Sub-Zero. I don't even want the movie in English. Have it Chinese and Japanese subtitles the entire time like that opening scene was. That would be interesting. But no. We needed Cole Young. And hold on, I have more on Sub-Zero. He's actually super badass in this movie. He completely wrecks Hanzo in the opener. He jobs out Jax like he's nothing. I like this. I like Sub-Zero being a major player. But he's not much of an assassin, is he? I find the collarbone stab on Hanzo to be a bit confusing. It gets the job done eventually, but why not slice his head off or freeze him? Done deal, no questions asked, right? Shang Tsung gives a direct order to kill the Earthrealm warriors, and Sub-Zero blows Jax's arms off, but he doesn't kill him. Before that, he arrived in the streets of Chicago and caused a big scene, but he didn't kill literally anybody. Later on, he freezes Cole's family to the cage, and they're fine too. Not much of an assassin, I gotta say. And this part's kind of tough to cover because I really don't want to be rude to a young actress, but I also have to be honest. I have no idea how Matilda Kimber landed the role of Cole Young's daughter, Emily. She is terrible. And I don't just mean her line delivery is bad, though it is. She doesn't even have the facials of an actress. Her reactions to mind-blowing, otherworldly, fantastical warriors, blood-soaked magical fights, and 4-armed half-dragon, 9-foot life forms, they're all the same. Her face never changes. And I'm not going to pin this all on her, as who cast her in this role? Who said, yeah, that's our girl? How does the director on set not go, Matilda, you gotta give me something. He's a monster. He's huge. He's gonna kill your dad. You're scared. Show me scared. I looked her up, and Mortal Kombat is her only credit. She has done literally nothing else. Her parents are seemingly both lawyers, so I have no explanation for how this young lady wound up on the big screen because she certainly doesn't belong there. And I'm not trying to single her out. I'm not trying to be overly harsh. Look, if I was cast in this movie, I would take the role because that would be cool. But there would be people like, hey, what is that guy doing here? That guy is not an actor. And while I'm handing out criticism, I've got to say a little bit about the choice of writer and director here. I'll keep this short because, well, their resumes are pretty short. And that's one of my issues, I guess. This is Warner Brothers, dude. They've got money. They've got power. This is Mortal Kombat, an IP with a ton of cachet, a ton of built-in interest. So why in Sam hell did they hand the keys to a director who had never directed a movie before? Seriously, Simon McCoy's first theatrically released feature film was Mortal Kombat. And it's not like he's a bright young mind right out of film school. I don't know. Our writer here, Mr. Greg Russo, was attached to the 2021 pile of shit that was Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City at one point, though none of his work was used on that film. He's apparently writing the upcoming adaptation of System Shock. He wrote Death Note 2, which is allegedly coming to Netflix. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? I hope these guys never see this video, and if we're just being realistic, they never will, but I really hope that they don't, because I don't like being mean about other people's work. But if we're just being honest with each other, how did we wind up with these guys? Ugh. We can only assume their lack of any major credits made them cheap. And for Warner Brothers, who were at their absolute rock bottom in 2021, cheap was good. Director Simon McQuoid will be returning to helm Mortal Kombat 2, now releasing in 2026, though Greg Russo will not be returning as writer. Instead, we'll have Jeremy Slater. He wrote Death Note 1 for Netflix, and the 2015 Fantastic Four movie. So, we'll see. Why do the costumes look so bad? Why is Sub-Zero's mask so fucking big? Look how it fits in the games. Look how it fit in 1995. Why is this thing so goddamn oversized? Scorpion's costume is way too busy, and it's just ugly in general. Why? Why do this? There's a whole story thread about all of the fighters having to find their kana, their magical ability of sorts. And Kano finds his when he throws a temper tantrum over not getting an egg roll. Not a joke, by the way. So no, in this movie, the laser eye does not have anything to do with cybernetics. It's just Chinese food. Reptile's look in Mortal Kombat 1 definitely came from this movie, that's for sure. Now let's talk about the terrible CGI blood. Practically every single drop of blood in this film is computer generated, and for no reason whatsoever. Don't tell me it looks good, because it doesn't. It looks quite bad. At one point, Kano spits out a glob of CGI blood. Why animate that? Just put some fucking fake blood in the guy's mouth. And Kano's death is beyond atrocious. Early in the film, he spits a loogie on a garden gnome. It's disgusting. His death comes at the hands of what? The very same garden gnome. What a full circle moment. What a payoff. Sonya's actress is really bad in her role, too. She looks like Sonya, but she doesn't feel like Sonya in any way, shape, or form. And I cannot say that I find her acting to be convincing at all. It's just another really terrible miscast. And what is going on with the situation where Sonya stabs Reptile? What happened here? She's perpendicular to the floor, twirling through the sky, and then we hard cut to her standing upright on both feet, planting the knife in Reptile's chest. I don't know. I'm probably the only person who noticed this, so whatever. There are cool parts. I appreciate the Kung Lao fatality, the Jax fatality, the blood, really. I appreciate the blood. But again, it's CGI blood, so that sucks. The movie introduces character after character, none of which really have anything to do, but still, it's a little pop. It's a dopamine hit. Oh, Cabal! Ooh, Nitara! Yo, Melina! But holy Christ alive, does this film hit a brick wall when we get to the cliched anime training section. You have to train, you gotta find your powers, prepare for battle, blah blah blah. The heroes spend nearly an hour in this small sand pit. And no, again, I'm not joking about that. Time it if you don't believe me. Here's the thing, and I'm just going to put this out there now. This movie is so similar to Mortal Kombat Annihilation, it's kinda crazy. We've already gone over the bad acting. We've gone over the disjointed, nonsensical story and pacing, but it goes beyond that into the imagery. You cannot tell me that this doesn't look like Annihilation. You can't tell me that when the heroes are deciding who will fight who in the end, it isn't this exact scene from Annihilation. Mortal Kombat 2021 is worse than Annihilation, because at least Annihilation is so bad and so stupid that it's hilarious and entertaining. MK 2021 is boring. It's a drag. It's a complete waste of time, money, and effort. It's a total miss in literally every sense. But hey, that's just my opinion. This movie was not a hit, commercially or critically. I can't really take the $84 million box office compared to the $55 million budget seriously because the theater system was still super jacked up at the time from COVID. This was the most watched movie ever on HBO Max at the time of its release, so that's something. A bunch of people did see it, whether they bought a ticket or not. And hey, who knows what that means for the sequel? I don't like this movie at all. I hate it, actually. And I can't say the trailer for the new one washes away my concern. We've still got the same director, largely the same cast. Ugh, we'll see. And we were supposed to see in like 2 weeks. Now it'll be 8 months, because the movie just got delayed. That's usually a great sign. Oh, there it is. Those are my thoughts and feelings on the 2021 live-action Mortal Kombat film. Now, I would like to state for the record once again that I did come back to this with an open mind. I was ready to find out that I was too harsh on it before. Maybe I was just a little too cynical. I came back ready to be wrong, and I'm not wrong. I hate this movie. I actually think I hate it more than I did before. Feel free to let me know where you fall on this one. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Go ahead and tell me down in the comments. And tell me if you're excited for the sequel as well. I am not. My expectations are non-existent, but hey, maybe that will make it easier for me to be impressed. Time will tell.